And welcome to Dedicated Dentist 32 Reasons Why. So last video was about psychoanalytic theory by Sigmund Freud. I recommend you to please watch that video once because we have to correlate this theory of Erikson and Freud, and then it will be easier for you to memorize or understand the things, okay? Because when we correlate the things, we learn easily. So this theory is based on epigenetic principle, and each developmental stages here are called as psychosocial crisis. Just like how the stages in Sigmund Freud's theory were called psychosexual stages, here they are called as psychosocial crisis. So this theory says that the environment, it influences the individuality. So this theory has, as per the principle, the development is sequential, okay, and each stage must be resolved for development. So here the entire life is covered. On the contrary, in the Sigmund Freud's theory, we saw that there were some, in the genital stage, he was talking about puberty till death. Okay, there was no in between in that stages, in that theory. So yeah, basic trust versus mistrust. Now this correlates to the oral stage of Sigmund Freud. What he said was that the oral cavity is the site of need, and that he depends on the child depends on the caregiver or the parent for getting the needs fulfilled, and this helps in development of trust. So yeah, again the same thing, it fits from birth till 18 months of age. Okay, so this is the first stage. Psychosocial crisis is the basic trust versus mistrust. Again, same thing, that the child will depend on adults getting the need fulfilled, and when the demands are met or the needs are met, the child will develop trust and believe that the world is helpful. Okay, and if the child is well parented, nurtured well, though, he will have this optimistic behavior, he will be trustful, he will trust people. Okay, if the mother care is deprived, if the child is deprived of mother care, he will be mistrustful, okay, insecure, and will be difficult to handle in the clinic. So the dental consideration or application of this stage is, there is tight bond between the caregiver or mother or child. Okay, so this will lead to development of a separation anxiety in the child. Hence, parents' presence is essential in the clinic. Okay, so the treatment should be carried out. If the child loses trust, say the mistrustful child or who was deprived of mother's care, it is very difficult to gain confidence. It is very difficult to gain confidence, and also this will require special efforts by the dentist and the dental staff. Next stage we come to is the autonomy versus she. Again, this corresponds to the anal stage of the Freud stages. Okay, here the virtue is will. Now this is characterized by the terrible twos, obnoxious and uncooperative behavior. Now the child is independent and autonomous. We saw in anal stage how the child was toilet trained and he was independent. Okay, he had this voluntary control over the sphincters, so he was independent or autonomous. So as the children, they get independent, they do things on their own, they move away from mother and they feel they are independent. So the child is moving away from mother, but he or she will still retreat to her in threatening situation. Okay, and if the parents, they fail to support the child, that will lead to a guilt in a child, or say a shame, or he will doubt his or her abilities. So the dental application is this. We saw that the child is independent but will still retreat to mother in the threatening situation. So again, parents' presence is essential. Okay, now the child takes pleasure in doing tasks by himself or herself, that they are independent. Okay, so dentist should make the child believe that the treatment is his choice and not of the dentist, by asking questions like, what color drape would you like to wear? Okay, is it blue or pink? Okay, instead of asking, would you like to wear a drape, that will be a complete no from the child. So instead that, you should ask, what drape color would you like to wear? Is it pink or blue? Now we have this stage, initiative versus guilt. The virtue here is purpose. Now this corresponds to the Phallic stage of the Sigmund Freud's, that is from 3 to 6 years. This is characterized by extreme curiosity, inquisitive, imaginative, broaden his or her skills. The child broadens his or her skills. So the children here are very curious and inquisitive. Okay, so the dental considerations here are that the child's first visit is like a challenge. Okay, and if it is successful, the child experiences success and develop independence. Okay, and if it is a failure, well, that will lead to guilt in a child. Okay, so if success, then the subsequent dental visits can be carried out in the absence of parents also. Now we move on to this next, industry versus inferiority. The virtue here is competence. Okay, now this corresponds to the latency stage. If you can recollect, latency stage is where the child acquires skills, okay, get the intellectual skills, develops personality, focuses on developing their skills, having mastery over the skills. Okay, so this ranges from 6 to 12 years. So the child learns the skills, social and intellectual, okay, and he is influenced by the peer groups. Okay, he is industrious, and if appreciated, the child is industrious, hardworking because of resolution of previous psychosocial crisis. And if any of the psychosocial crisis or stage fails, if the child say is mistrustful, then he'll have again a guilt and inferiority, will develop an inferiority complex. So the dental considerations here is like now the child is focusing on himself, maturing his personality, and is influenced by the peers. So utilizing this child's drive for accomplishment and success, the cooperation for the treatment can be obtained, and this has to be positively reinforced. Okay, child should be motivated and rewarded after the treatment. So the next we come to is the identity versus role confusion of fidelity. Now this is the adolescent stage. Okay, now children, they have their identity. They can answer to these questions like who am I or what he or she shall become. They have their ambitions, goals, and they have their own religious, political views. And if parents constantly impose on the children, then they face sometimes this role confusion. So the dental application here is that here the parental authority is rejected. Okay, if the child, any orthodontic treatment at this stage should be carried out only if the child wants it and not the parents. So here the parental authority is rejected. Next we come to this intimacy versus isolation. Virtue here is love. Okay, so the young adults, they can experience intimacy that can lead to good marriages and enduring friendships. Okay, so the dental considerations here are that here now to attain intimate relationships, it is very important for the child or the children, the external appearances. Okay, so they are very conscious at this stage about their external appearance to have an intimate relationship. Okay, so they seek for orthodontic treatment to change their dental appearances. Okay, so this is like an internal motivation. So now we come to this stage, generativity versus stagnation. Now this word means that guiding the next generation. Now the adults, they work productively and creatively. Okay, the adults, they demand generativity when it comes to marriage and parenthood. Okay, they have to guide the generation, they have to work, be productive. Next is the integrity versus despair. That is, virtue here is wisdom. Now the adults are mature and all the psychosocial crises have been resolved. They are independent, hardworking, they have found a new role in life, and they are content with life. Okay, when they have all the psychosocial crises resolved, and it is believed that if they have regrets or if any of the stage is fixed or not resolved, then they are grumpy and not content with life. So the merits of this theory is that the classification is based on age and it is simple and easy to comprehend, and the demerits are that it is based on the extreme ends of personality. It was all about the Erik Erikson's theory. Thank you for watching patiently.